If you've been telling yourself you're not a tech person or you're not a data person, and that's the reason you haven't started using AI in your business, there's something you need to hear. You've been lied to. And the people doing the lying have a financial interest in keeping you exactly where you are, stuck, overwhelmed, and convinced this stuff is for somebody smarter than you. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you why that belief is wrong, where it actually came from, and what it's costing your business every single month you let it run your decisions. Look, I talk to small business owners every week who say some version of the same thing. I'm not technical enough. I'm not a numbers person. My brain doesn't work that way. And I get it. The AI industry has spent the last 3 years dressing this stuff up in jargon, code snippets, and complexity theater, most of which has nothing to do with running an actual business. So when you look at it from the outside, of course it looks like it's for somebody else. That's the whole point. If they made it look easy, you wouldn't pay them $5,000 for a course. But here's the thing. That belief is the single most expensive thing in your business right now. Because while you're sitting there wishing you were technical enough, your competitors are making decisions with their data, and you're making decisions with your gut. So today I've got 3 things for you. 1, why this belief is wrong. 2, why it's costing you more than you think. And 3, what the bar actually is to do this stuff, which is way lower than anyone has told you. So let's get into it. All right, here's some quick context on why I get to say this. I'm Rob Fernango. I've spent 27 years in data science and business analytics, but the part that matters most for this video is that I used to teach statistics and research methods at the university level. Undergrads, master's students, even PhD students. Then I taught data analysts in a corporate role for a decade, which means I've spent thousands of hours in a room with people who were absolutely convinced they couldn't learn this. So when I tell you the fear isn't real, I'm not guessing. I've watched people walk through it and learn the truth. Thousands of them. Here's what I used to tell my statistics students all the time when they started to struggle. Statistics is logical, but it's not intuitive. The same is true of any data analysis. The same thing is true of using AI in your business. And once you understand the difference between those two words, logical and intuitive, the whole fear of learning collapses. Logical means it can be explained, step by step, cause and effect. There's a reason it works, and that reason can be shown to you. If you sit down with a good teacher and the right framework, you're going to understand it. Not intuitive, however, means you cannot just sit down and figure it out from scratch. Nobody can. The smartest people in the room can't. This stuff took humanity literally centuries to work out. And the idea that you should be able to sit down, look at it cold, and immediately get it, that's not a standard, that's a setup for failure. Now, if you're multitasking, come back to me on this one. When you struggle with this stuff, that struggle is not a verdict on your intelligence. It's not a sign that your brain doesn't work that way. It's the completely normal experience of learning something that nobody's born knowing. In all my years of teaching, I've never met one person who couldn't learn this, including people who openly admitted that they hated math, struggled with algebra, the whole thing. They could all learn it. Every single one of them. The only difference between the ones who did and the ones who didn't was whether they decided to start and put in some effort. And here's the good news that almost nobody tells you. This stuff compounds. The first concept is the hardest to learn. The second is easier. By the time you've got 3 or 4 foundational concepts in place, new things start clicking on their own. The learning curve isn't linear. It bends in your favor. And the more you learn, the more time you'll save, which gives the effort a long-term ROI. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Rob, but I've been running my business fine without this. Why does it suddenly matter? Here's the frame I come back to constantly, and I have to credit Brendan Burchard for this perspective. Every business ultimately breaks down to 2 things, traffic and conversions. You need people seeing your offer, and you need some of them to buy. That's the whole game. Find your people, convert your people. Now, here's the part that connects to data that nobody tells you when you start. In the early days, you can run that whole equation in your head. You have one offer, 12 customers, a handful of channels. You know who bought, you know what they said, you remember the conversation. It's easy. But the second you start to scale, and I mean the real moment you go from a handful of customers to an actual customer base, that whole approach gets harder. Now you've got hundreds of touch points, multiple messages, different channels, returning buyers, repeat behavior, refund patterns. You can't hold all of that in your head anymore. Nobody can. So here's the part I want you to hear, because this is what actually matters. You're already doing the analysis. You have been the whole time. Every decision you make about what to keep, what to cut, what to double down on, that's analysis. You've been doing it since day one. The issue isn't whether you're capable of it. You clearly are. You're still in business. The issue is that the way most of us do it, and I mean all of us, this is a human thing, is that we get pulled around by whatever's loudest or most recent. The customer who emailed yesterday weighs more than the 80 who didn't. The campaign that had one good day feels like it's working when maybe it isn't. The offer you're emotionally attached to gets the benefit of the doubt when maybe it should be cut. That's not stupidity, and it's not a failure of intelligence. That's how every human brain on Earth processes information when it's overloaded. When the data set is small, your gut's actually pretty accurate. But there's a point where the data gets bigger than the brain, and that's where bias starts running the show without you even noticing. So the real question isn't, do I become a data person? You're already doing the analysis. The real question is, am I letting my gut handle it alone with all the natural bias that comes with that? Or am I bringing in a tool that can help me objectively see the whole picture? That's the choice. And it's a choice you make by default every week that you put this off. Okay, so if the belief that you can't do this is wrong and the cost to your business is real, what does the work actually look like? Here's where it gets a little weird, because the AI industry has been screaming from the rooftops for years how easy this is. Just open ChatGPT, type a question, get an answer. No coding required, no tech background needed. 5 minutes and you're using AI. And then you tried it. And it kind of worked, sometimes, but not the way it looked in the demo. The outputs were vague or confidently wrong or generic in a way that didn't actually help you make a real decision. And because they told you it was easy and it wasn't working for you, there's only one conclusion available. It must be you, right? That's the real trap. Not, this is too hard to learn. It's, they said anyone could do this, and I still can't make it work, so I must be the problem. Meanwhile, the educators in the space saw an opening. They took that frustration that, why isn't this working for me? And they built $2,000 courses around it. Learn prompt engineering, build a tech stack, understand vector databases, maybe pick up a little Python, take a 40-hour certification. So you've got this whiplash then. The platforms are telling you anyone can do this, and the educators are telling you that you need to pay them to learn how. And you're sitting in the middle wondering what's actually true. Well, here's what's actually true in 2026. The AI does the math. The AI does the programming. The AI runs the analysis. You do not write code. You do not memorize formulas, and you do not become a data scientist. Your job is 3 things. 1, tell it what you want. 2, read the result. 3, sanity check it the same way you'd sanity check any expert you hired. That's the bar. That is the actual bar. It is dramatically lower than anything you've been led to believe. Now, is there a learning curve? Yes. You have to learn how to set it up. You have to learn how to direct it. You have to learn how to read the output. You have to learn the difference between a result that's useful and one that's confidently wrong. But those are skills. They take a little time, but they're not the same skills as becoming technical. They're closer to skills you already have, like managing a contractor or reading a report from your bookkeeper or interviewing somebody for a role. The version of this stuff that requires you to be technical is the version from 4 years ago, and that version's gone. Most AI educators just haven't updated their marketing because you need to become technical sells $2,000 courses, and you just need to know what to ask doesn't. So if you've gotten this far in the video, here's what I want you to actually do this week. First, and this matters more than it sounds like it does, recognize the story you've been telling yourself for what it is. A story, not a fact about you. You've probably been running some version of the "I'm not technical enough" story in the background of your head for months, maybe even years. And every time you sit down with an AI tool and it doesn't immediately work the way you hoped, that story gets a little louder. And until you call it out, until you actually name it as a belief that you picked up somewhere and not a hard truth about your brain, it's going to keep winning. You need to capture that kind of negative thought and propose a new positive thought to replace it. So make a commitment to yourself to replace the "I'm not technical" message with the "I can do this" message. Second, pick one thing, not 10, one. One question about your business that you've been avoiding because you weren't sure how to answer it. It could be, which product actually makes me the most money after costs? It could be, what does my email open rate look like across the last 6 months? It could be, where are my customers actually coming from? One question. Third, bring it to an AI tool and ask it to help you answer it. That's it. That's the first rep. As you repeat that process through your second rep, third rep, and so on, you'll acquire the skill that you need to make all of this second nature. Again, if you're multitasking, come back to me. Now, here's the part I need you to expect, because if you don't expect it, you're going to get frustrated and quit. It's going to feel uncomfortable. The first prompt won't work great. The output will look weird, and you'll think, see, I told myself I couldn't do this. Now, hear me on this. That discomfort is not the signal to stop. That discomfort is the work. Growth happens in the place where you have not been before. By definition, you cannot grow into something that you're already comfortable with. So when you hit that discomfort, and you will hit it, probably in the first 10 minutes, I want you to recognize it for what it is. It's not a verdict, but a milestone. You're doing the thing. You're growing. Keep going. Now, the hardest part of all of this for most people isn't the mindset. The mindset I can give you in a 10-minute video. The hard part is figuring out where to actually start. What's the right first move for your business specifically? That's why I built a short free quiz called "What's Your AI Next Step?" It's 7 questions. It takes about 2 minutes. And at the end, you get matched to one of 4 profiles based on where you actually are right now, not where you think you should be, and not generic advice for everybody. You might be the traditionalist. You haven't really committed to AI yet, and honestly, you're not sure it's worth your time. You might be the explorer. You've tried a few tools, had a few wins, but it hasn't clicked into something that's actually moving the business yet. You might be the builder. You're getting real results, but it's scattered and inconsistent, and you're ready to make it repeatable. Or you might be the architect. You're already ahead of most business owners. AI is part of how you work, and the real question is what your next level looks like. Each profile gets 3 specific steps written for where they are, not generic AI advice, but actions that match your current reality. To take it, click the link in the description. 2 minutes, personalized results, no fluff. I'll also send you a few follow-up emails over the next week or 2 with next steps that match your results. So you're not just getting a recommendation and being left to figure out the implementation by yourself. All right, so here's the recap. The fear of being not technical enough is not real. It's manufactured and it's expensive. You're already doing the analysis. So the choice isn't whether to do it, it's whether to do it well, without the bias of being human getting a vote that it didn't earn. And the bar to do it well in 2026 is dramatically lower than anyone has told you. If this landed, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps YouTube know to show this to other small business owners that could use this information. And if you want more content from this channel, hit the subscribe button. I publish every week on AI for small business strategy, workflows, and analysis. And next, I want you to watch my video on the 5 numbers every business owner has to know. It's the natural next step from where we are right now. Once you've decided you can do this, that video shows you the first few things to actually look at. I'll see you in the next video.